Hi, this is Gene Trowbridge, and you're listening to the Passive Investor Show.
The views and opinions provided on this show are for informational purposes only and should not be misinterpreted as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, please go to passiveinvestorshow.com. Hey PI listeners, this is John Fortes. I'm making it a point to speak to as many investors as possible. My goal is to position myself to be a blessing to my network through conversation. How could one be a blessing through conversation? The easy answer is by listening. A simple conversation can open many opportunities and doors. I always ask myself this: what do I have to lose by having one more conversation? Going back to high school, I've connected friends and family in my network to one another, even if it didn't benefit me. And I continue those same principles and practices. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. If I can't help you, I probably know someone or something that can probably solve your problem. I'd love for you to become a part of that network. Go to www.johnfortes.com, create your investor profile, and schedule a call. How can I best serve you through conversation? In the words of Clarence the Angel from It's a Wonderful Life, no man is a failure who has friends.
And now, the Passive Investor Show. Here's your host, John Fortes.
Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. I'm the Passive Investor Consultant, John Fortes, your host of the only ranked podcast for passive investors in multifamily syndications and real estate funds. Our goal and purpose of this show is to be a resource to investors and help them master their passive investments by beating inflation 1% at a time. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today's awesome guest is, you've heard him here before, Gene Trowbridge. As the founding partner of Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, Gene's law practice concentrates on the syndication of commercial and investment real estate through both debt and equity. Between Gene's individual syndication practice and the firm's legal practice, the partners in the firm have written offerings for more than $5 billion of money raised. The median offering size is $2.5 million. His practice writes offerings under Rule 506B and 506C of Regulation D and Regulation A+. As a former syndicator who for 10 years raised investor capital through the brokerage dealer community, he is able to communicate with his clients on both the technical and the practical aspects of state and federal securities law. As a longtime CCIM and CCIM senior instructor, now having attained senior emeritus status, Gene won numerous awards for his teaching ability. His book, It's a Whole New Business, is really a how-to manual on real estate syndication. Thank you for coming on the show, Gene.
Well, thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Well, Gene, let's talk about exactly how you became to do what you do, your daily profession. How'd you get here?
Well, my career, John, has really had three parts. I came out of college and went off to sell real estate and ended up selling commercial real estate back in Minnesota, where I was from. And that was maybe a 10-year chunk of my career. And then from there, I went off to become a syndicator, where I, for about 15 years, I raised money and primarily built self-storage facilities throughout Southern California, where I had moved. And then when I was 45, I thought I'd had enough of that. And I went home and talked to my wife about what would I do for the last 15 years of my career. And we decided that I'd go to law school. So at 45, here I am off to law school. That was 27 years ago. So I'm still doing it. And the background of commercial real estate and syndicating has made me ideally suited for what I do, I think, in the business, John.
That is pretty cool. Now you got both aspects and you're pretty unique to be able to understand the syndication part, the raising capital part, as well as the legal side of things. Now, how do we as syndicators, when should syndicators start to reach out for the legal documents?
I think they should start out when they get a letter of intent, when they have control of the property, not necessarily waiting till they have the purchase and sale agreement. Although some syndicators don't go through the LOI to the PSA approach, they go right to the PSA. But generally, on the bigger offerings, we're doing a letter of intent, and that would be a good time to get me because I can get started. You probably have enough due diligence done, so you have a preliminary idea what your property package looks like or your investment summary, because it's going to take me 3 or 4 weeks to get the work done, and about that time you'll get your financing contingency removed, and then we'll be able to send you out to raise some money. If you wait too long, then the money raising time that you have is shortened, and it's too much stress for the investors.
So you said a couple weeks to get the documents
Mhm.
prepared. What does that look like?
Well, the documents look like the private placement memorandum, which is the story of what you're doing, the operating agreement, which is the rules of the story, and the subscription agreement, and then filing entities, forming entities, and filing securities notices with the SEC and the states. So there's a lot to do. And in your first offering, John, you haven't read these documents before, so we do have to spend some time going through them together and editing them so they're exactly the way you want it. So the first set of documents probably is 4 weeks. Subsequent to that, I think we can cut a week off of that schedule.
Yeah, but so that garners some time. That means me and you have to be on a few calls,
Yep.
just to understand what we're kind of setting up the proposing to investors, right?
That's right. After you sign the fee agreement with me and pay the fee, then I have what's called a deal structure interview. And I have a deal structure questionnaire that I go through with you, and I get most of the information I need to help me draft the PPM. And I try to do the PPM first. And I said it's really the story. So if I have the story right, drafting the operating agreement is pretty easy. If I've got the story wrong and I give you all 3 documents at one time, you're just going through every document and correcting the same thing that I've got wrong over and over and over. So you don't want to do that.
That sounds awesome. Thanks for showing us exactly what that transition looks like, that period of the 2 to 4 weeks. What kind of mistakes are you helping clients avoid?
Well, one of the mistakes I think I'm helping them avoid is not giving themselves enough time. I mean, I think you need, 3 or 4 weeks to actually raise the money after you have the complete documents. You may be telling your investors to be on the lookout because when you get the documents, you're going to come to them, but they aren't always there. They're on vacation, or something is going on, or they're setting up their self-directed IRA. And so you can't call people and say, okay, you've got, 36 hours to get me your money. That's too stressful. So that's a mistake. Another mistake I think we're trying to do is trying to simplify the waterfall. We want a waterfall that's easy for the investors to understand. If they don't understand it, they're not going to invest. And overall, over a number of years, I paid special attention to my documents to make them as much plain English as possible so you can actually understand them. And then you can explain them to your investors, and then they can understand it. The biggest mistake that syndicators make is trying to do all these legal paperwork themselves. That's the biggest mistake. The problem is everyone will know that you've tried to do it yourself, and then that will cause the astute investors not to invest with you this time or ever. So we want to be able to stop that.
So you painted a picture of what it looks like to work with Gene. Now, when we're a client, say we've already received the documents, is there any ongoing relationship going from there with what's
Well,
it
our
look
fee
like to be a
agreement
client
specifically says that it covers all the way through to the development and the delivery of the final offering documents and 6 months after that. because there's always questions that come up.
Yeah.
And, our fee is a flat fee, so we don't charge by the hour for anything. I don't keep track of how many times you call me or vice versa. So we carry on for 6 months afterwards. In fact, I think we're just playing carry on. I don't think the 6 month time clock buzzes and we don't help you anymore. I have, people who have done offers several years ago, and today someone contacted me that one of the investors, a husband and wife, the man died of COVID. So now the question is, what do we do with the liquidity issues of that investor's deal? And like I said, that was an offering that was 3 years ago. Well, call me and I'll help you work that out.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's very unfortunate, especially what we're going through too. Now, there's a lot of rage with funds, and I'm sure that there's a structure and a process to sound almost similar to what we just explained with funds. Is there any difference than creating a fund than a syndication?
Well, a fund probably is what you mean by that. You're going to go out and buy multiple properties, where a syndication is just a specific offering. And there's really not much in the process, difference in the process. But you have to have a good business plan if you're going to do a fund and you're going to go to the market and try to raise money, but you don't have any properties under contract. You better have a pretty thorough investment summary or business plan to tell the investors what it is they're investing in. And then I always say that business plan puts the handcuffs on you, because if you say you're going to buy multifamily and all of a sudden you run into a raging hot deal on a self-storage facility, you can't do it because your business plan says multifamily. So you have to be careful. And I'll tell you what that does in my practice. It slows things down, because you'd call me and say, Gene, I want to do a fund. I'm going to say, John, before I send you a fee agreement, before I take your money, before we do anything, give me the draft of your investment summary. And that's generally where there's a big time delay. The sponsor knows they want to do it, but they don't have the document ready. So I'm not going to do anything until you get the document ready. It doesn't help you to send me your money, because I can't write anything because I don't know what I'm writing. So
absolutely. It sounds like, so with the syndication, in my experience, is we're drafting documents and then we go ahead and write the executive summary and then give it to investors, right? So it sounds like it's create the investor executive summary first, present it to you, and then you go ahead and you can build a better fund based off of what we're giving you with our business plan and model. So it sounds like it's a little bit different, but the same when you finally get it.
Yeah, because I can get started with your fee agreement and everything, expecting that you're going to send me the draft of the property package for the specific offering. But I used to do that and then wait for the investment summary for the fund. So I just stopped waiting.
I get it. Because, time is everything when you want to try to structure and set these things up. So, Gene, what are some of the resources your firm offers to clients to help stay compliant, or to help educate and just provide service to them?
Wow. Well, in this period of COVID, we don't have our live education programs. Over the years, John and I really built my business on education-based marketing. And so now we have to do that all virtually. We do have a online training class that we do a couple times a year for syndicators. And it's 2 3-hour sessions, maybe on a Tuesday and a Thursday, that we have live with Zoom. We also started something at the end of last year that's really been popular. It's our rookie camp. You might try to fool me, but I won't let you in if I know you've done a syndication. I want 15 rookies in there on my Zoom, and we only take 15 people. And once again, it's 2 3 hours. It's basically the one-day training class we used to do live. We spread it out over 2 days, Tuesday, Thursday. Given the fact everyone is a rookie, there's all sorts of questions, and it's a lot of interaction. Only 15 people in that. In fact, we have a rookie camp coming up this month February 16th and 18th. It's coming up and starting tomorrow. But anyhow, February 16th and 18th. And if you're listening to this before that time, you can go to the website and you can find our link for our rookie camp. And you can join. It's $395 for the two sessions.
That's not bad to get familiar and educated. I think that's a good, fair market value.
Well,
there.
I think, I charge $5.50 an hour if I ever charge by the hour. So to get me for 6 hours for $395 is and you get Jonathan also, my partner. So it's pretty good value.
That's pretty cool. And also after I know that you're going to keep having these sessions, so they'll always be available, hopefully, right?
And then another thing I think we do is we have a good YouTube channel. I'm doing interviews with syndicators and people who are in the syndication business. And we broadcast those on Thursday at noon Pacific Standard Time. And then we put them in our YouTube channel. And we've had a lot of great interviews. We need to get you on there to interview you, to have you talk about what you're doing and what advice you have for rookies. So that would be good.
Awesome. I'd be honored. Gene, what's one piece of advice for the passive investor listeners?
Well, I think today the piece of advice is to make sure there's continuity in the managing member. I always say, John, I'd be happy to invest in your deal. I've got the $50,000, but John, what happens if something happens to you? And today I'm particularly aware that things can happen. So don't invest in a deal where the managing member isn't eligible with one person. Make sure the continuity. And I guess the other thing I think, and I've been talking about this a lot in the last days, I think passive investor has them to learn a little bit of the asset type. I think the syndicator is going to train you about investing in apartments. The syndicator might train you about in their deal. But I think I see investors burdened to find some places and all over where you can learn about investing in mobile home parks or apartments or self-storage or single tenant net lease. Just find what you're interested in and educate yourself a little bit. So when the offering comes to you, you can, and it means something. John, we're supposed to be dealing with sophisticated investors. And part of the definition of sophisticated is that the sponsor knows that the person can read and understand the documents. Well, I think sophisticated means different things depending upon what you're investing in. If we're going to invest in a 32-unit apartment building, that takes one level of sophistication. But if we're investing in an offering where it's we're trying to go out and get a solar panel business up and running, that might take a little different level of sophistication. So I think the investor has some responsibility, and however they decide to fulfill that, I think is important.
Hey, Gene, thanks for sharing that pro tip. Really enjoyed it. How can we stay in touch with you?
You can stay in touch with me by my email is pretty simple, Gene@TrowbridgeLawGroup.com. Send me an email, and if it looks like it's kind of urgent, I'll probably pick up the phone and just call you back. I use email pretty much as a telephone call, or keep in touch with all the things we're doing at our website, TrowbridgeLawGroup.com.
I'll tell you one thing, you are really responsive, because if I've ever called you, you've always called back. So I appreciate that.
Good, thank you.
It's pretty obvious, but my favorite question is, what is the meaning behind your company name?
Well, the meaning behind the 4 partnerships I've been involved with is always Trowbridge is first. I have an ego, and I'm assuming that in every law partnership I've been in, the people are going to call me because they know me, and I have built name recognition, branding. Even when I was syndicating, John, my syndications were Trowbridge Equity Group, Fund 1, Fund 2, whatever, because that's what I had to market, was me. That may not have been a good idea, but that's what I did. So that's the meaning behind my name.
It's consistency. I like it. I like it. Gene, thank you for stopping by. We really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Good, John. It's always good to see you.
Don't forget to download your free copy of the investment tracker. It allows you to track up to 5 investments, compare sponsors, markets, and most importantly, projected versus actual returns. To get your copy, go to www.projectedreturns.com. PI listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we hope this was the best resource for your investment strategy, but also the best use of your time. Remember, if this episode helps you, you can help us by leaving a review on iTunes. I hope you feel compelled enough to share it with someone you think this would resonate with as well. As much as it pains us to leave you, but you know what time it is. Time to go put this into practice. Till the next time we meet. Happy investing. PI listeners, I'm grateful for your time and I appreciate you for listening. It would mean the world to me if you went to iTunes and left a rating and written review. Let me know how you feel about the show. It really makes a big difference with getting the podcast out there. Don't forget about our Facebook group, where all of our guests are members of. I'll be there to answer any of your questions, or even questions you might have for future guests. Subscribe so you can get the latest episodes and our fan favorite quick hitters. Finally, I want to keep you updated, so head over to johnfortes.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you're interested in partnering with me, sign up on the contact page so you can talk to me directly. I look forward to connecting with you. Happy investing.